Being a teenager feels like standing at the edge of everything. It's a stage filled with contradictions, both exhilarating and overwhelming. One moment, you're confident and fearless, ready to take on the world. The next, you're questioning everything and wondering why it all feels so intense. For many teenagers, and the adults in their lives, the same question seems to echo again and again. What's actually going on inside a teenager's head? Why do teens take more risks? Why do they push boundaries, stay up too late, stress over a single message, or feel emotions so deeply that it becomes almost physical? These aren't just passing mood swings or signs of rebellion. They are rooted in something much deeper, a complex mix of brain development, psychological changes, and the environment they're growing up in. This story is not just about teenagers. In many ways, it's about all of us. Every adult has lived through these years, and whether you're a parent, a teacher, or a teenager trying to understand yourself, recognizing the science and psychology behind this stage of life can create powerful understanding and empathy. The teenage years are often misunderstood because we're so focused on behavior, but behind every action is a brain still under construction, trying to make sense of a rapidly changing world. Understanding teen psychology is not about judging behavior. It's about asking better questions. What's happening in the brain that makes everything feel so intense? Why does peer approval suddenly become more important than anything else? And why does it sometimes seem like logic takes a backseat to emotion, even when teens are smart, aware, and thoughtful? The answers lie in neuroscience and psychology. Adolescence is a period of massive brain development, second only to early childhood in terms of how much rewiring and change is happening. The prefrontal cortex, which is responsible for decision-making and impulse control, is still developing. Meanwhile, the limbic system, which processes emotions and rewards, is highly active. This imbalance is part of what makes teenage behavior feel unpredictable or extreme at times. But there's more to it than brain chemistry. Teenagers are forming their identities. They're navigating intense emotions, social pressure, and questions about who they are and where they belong. They're building the emotional and cognitive muscles they'll use for the rest of their lives. And while that journey can be turbulent, it's also incredibly powerful. Adolescence isn't just something to survive. It's a time of rapid growth, creativity, risk, and resilience. It's when possibilities open up, when mistakes lead to real learning, and when the brain is at its most adaptable. Yes, there are challenges, but there's also a tremendous amount of potential. So what is really going on in a teen's head? Why do they think, feel, and act the way they do? In this video, we'll explore the psychology behind it all. We'll look at how the brain develops during adolescence, what fuels emotional highs and lows, how social dynamics shape identity, and what all of this means for teens and the people who care about them. Understanding teen psychology doesn't give us all the answers, but it helps us ask the right questions and maybe see this complicated stage of life in a new light. The teenage brain is a work in progress, constantly reshaping itself in response to the world. While it may seem that teens are already grown physically, their brains are still under active construction. In fact, the adolescent brain is one of the most dynamic and sensitive structures in the human body during these years. This ongoing transformation plays a major role in how teenagers think, feel, and behave. One of the most important areas involved in this change is the prefrontal cortex. This part of the brain is located right behind the forehead and is responsible for critical thinking, decision-making, planning, and controlling impulses. During adolescence, the prefrontal cortex is still maturing. It will not be fully developed until a person reaches their mid-20s. This explains why teens often struggle with judgment and risk assessment. It is not that they are careless or reckless by nature. Their brains are still learning how to evaluate long-term consequences and manage urges in real time. At the same time, another part of the brain called the limbic system becomes very active. The limbic system processes emotions, rewards, and social information. It responds quickly and intensely, often driving behavior before the more rational prefrontal cortex can fully engage. This mismatch between the emotional and logical centers of the brain helps explain why teens may act on impulse, experience mood swings, or appear overly dramatic. Their brains are quite literally wired to feel more and think later. Another major shift happening during this time is synaptic pruning. In early childhood, the brain forms an overwhelming number of neural connections. As teens grow, the brain starts trimming away the unused connections and strengthening the ones that are used the most. This process helps the brain become more efficient, but it also means that whatever teens focus on during these years, whether it is school, music, sports, or social media, will shape their brain development in lasting ways. There is also an increase in dopamine activity in the adolescent brain. Dopamine is a chemical linked to pleasure and reward. Teen brains are especially sensitive to it, which explains their strong desire for excitement, novelty, and social approval. This increased sensitivity to reward is part of why teens are more likely to seek out intense experiences, try new things, or take social risks. It is not simply about rebellion. It is part of their biological wiring to explore and expand their world. What makes this stage both fascinating and challenging is the balance between strength and vulnerability. On one hand, the teen brain is incredibly flexible and capable of learning. On the other hand, it is also more sensitive to stress, trauma, and pressure. This sensitivity can make adolescence a time of rapid growth or serious struggle, depending on the environment and support available. Understanding these brain changes can shift how we respond to teenage behavior. When a teen acts impulsively or seems overly emotional, it is not a sign of failure. It is a sign of development. The brain is learning how to regulate itself, how to assess danger, how to balance emotion with logic. These lessons are not learned overnight, and they are not always smooth. But they are necessary steps toward becoming an independent adult. The teenage brain is not broken or flawed. It is just busy building itself. And while that process can look messy on the outside, it is part of a powerful design, one that prepares the mind for adulthood, creativity, risk-taking, connection, and resilience. Adolescence is not only a time of brain development. It is also the beginning of emotional depth, identity exploration, and powerful social change. These years mark the shift from childhood simplicity to the complex world of adult emotions, values, and relationships. For many teens, this process feels overwhelming, and for those watching from the outside, it can seem confusing. But beneath the surface, there is a deep psychological transformation taking place. Teenagers feel emotions more intensely than children or adults. This is partly because of the brain's heightened sensitivity to emotional stimuli, and partly because teens are experiencing many things for the first time. A first heartbreak, a betrayal by a friend, the pressure of performing well, or the thrill of taking a risk. All of these moments feel more vivid, more personal, and more defining during adolescence. Emotions are not just passing moods. They are powerful forces that shape how teens see themselves and the world. At the same time, identity becomes a central focus. Teenagers begin asking questions that go beyond what they were told as children. Who am I? What do I believe? What makes me different? What do I want to be? These are not easy questions, and there are no clear answers. But the search for identity is an essential part of growing up. It is during this time that teens begin separating from their parents' views and start forming opinions of their own. This is not rejection. It is a step toward becoming an individual. One of the biggest influences during this stage is the social environment. Friends and peer groups take on an enormous role. What others think, say, or expect can weigh heavily on a teen's mind. Social approval becomes more important than ever. Not because teens are shallow or attention-seeking, but because they are wired to seek belonging. Belonging is not just a comfort, it is a need. The teenage brain is highly responsive to social cues and feedback, making acceptance feel like survival and rejection feel like a threat. Social media has amplified this dynamic. Now, teens are not just navigating real-world interactions. They are also managing digital identities, public perception, and constant comparison. The likes, comments, and messages they receive online can have a real emotional impact. A single post or photo can boost self-esteem or create deep insecurity. While these platforms offer connection, they also increase pressure to perform, look perfect, or gain approval in ways that are difficult to manage emotionally. Family dynamics also shift during adolescence. As teens try to assert independence, they often pull away from parents or challenge authority. This can lead to conflict, but it is also a sign that they are developing their own sense of self. They are testing boundaries not to be difficult, but to find out where they stand. Trust, respect, and open communication become more important than control. When teens feel heard, they are more likely to listen. These emotional and social changes do not happen in a straight line. One day a teen may seem mature and thoughtful. The next day, they may act impulsively or emotionally. This inconsistency is normal. The emotional brain is often ahead of the rational brain during this time. That means teens may feel things deeply before they know how to express them clearly or respond calmly. It is not about immaturity. It is about practice and growth. Understanding these shifts in emotions, identity, and social connection can help us be more patient and compassionate with teens. They are not just figuring out how to behave. They are figuring out who they are, where they belong, and what they believe in. These questions are not always visible on the outside, but they are active in every conversation, every silence, and every decision. The teenage years are not just dramatic for the sake of drama. They are emotional for a reason. It is a time when the heart and mind are both trying to catch up with each other. And in that struggle, the foundations of adulthood are quietly being built. Now that we have explored what is happening inside a teenager's brain and heart, it becomes easier to see adolescence not as a problem to solve, but as a journey to support. Teenagers are not lost, broken, or rebellious by nature. They are growing, learning, and becoming. Their behavior is often a reflection of the intense transformation happening beneath the surface. A transformation that includes changes in the brain, emotional development, identity formation, and social pressure. Yes, the teenage years can be difficult. They are full of questions, doubts, high emotions, and moments of uncertainty. But they are also filled with discovery, creativity, passion, and potential. These years are not just a bridge between childhood and adulthood. They are a stage of life that deserves to be understood and respected on its own terms. When we take the time to understand teen psychology, we move from frustration to empathy. We stop asking what's wrong with them and start asking what are they going through. This shift in perspective can make all the difference in how we teach, how we parent, how we support, and how we listen. Teenagers are not just dealing with the world. They are building their place in it, and they need space, patience, and guidance as they do. It is also important to remember that every teen is unique. Some grow quickly while others take more time. Some are confident while others are still finding their voice. There is no one-size-fits-all approach to understanding teenagers. But what they all need is someone who sees their potential, who listens without judgment, and who believes in who they are becoming, not just who they are today. If you are a teen watching this, know that what you are feeling is valid. The confusion, the pressure, the highs and lows, they are all part of your brain and body growing into something powerful. You're not supposed to have it all figured out yet. You are in the middle of something extraordinary, even when it feels overwhelming. And if you are a parent, teacher, or someone who cares for teens, remember that your patience and presence matter more than perfection. Even when it seems like they are not listening, they are absorbing everything. Your support becomes part of their foundation, part of the voice they will carry with them long after these years are over. Adolescence is not easy, but it is meaningful. It is raw, real, and full of potential. By understanding what is going on inside a teen's head, we can offer better support, create stronger connections, and build a world that truly values the growth happening in this powerful stage of life. Thank you for watching. If this video helped you see teen psychology in a new way, consider sharing it with someone who might benefit too. And remember, whether you are a teen or someone walking beside one, this journey is not meant to be perfect. It is meant to be understood.